Thanks for joining me for this Zoom interview, Chris, to be part of our National Reconciliation Week at the South Australian Maritime Museum. We've gotten together today to have a chat about an aspect of Ngarrindjeri history that many people might not know much about, and it's their involvement in the whaling industry. But before we get to that, I'd like to ask you if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your work in the heritage field.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Adam, and thanks for inviting me to talk. My name is Chris Wilson. I'm a senior lecturer at Flinders University in College of Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences. I'm Ngarrindjeri in Ghana and Lachi. I've worked at Flinders since 2004 in Indigenous Studies and more recently in archaeology. My PhD was archaeology of the Lower Murray, and I also have done some work with the Ngarrindjeri around repatriation of human remains. Yeah, just more broadly, I guess my area is in Indigenous archaeology.
I wanted to talk to you about Susti, and you introduced me to his story when we were developing the Leviathan exhibition at the Maritime Museum. He's an ancestor of yours, isn't he? Is he your great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather? Yeah,
so Susti Wilson is my great-great-grandfather. So he was born at Cape Jervis and died at Rauken in 1935, and he was 105 when he died. And so I heard about Susti as a younger person, but I guess I came across him when I was doing my PhD research in Tyndale's Lower Murray journals. And there was a newspaper article there of him, which the local advertiser had published, around his experiences as a younger person in the 1920s, hunting kangaroo, and also he's worked in the whaling industry as well. I guess it was quite interesting when I saw that newspaper article. He was 102, so it was 2 years before he died, and he was talking about hunting kangaroos at Rauken. I'll just read out one of the quotes here. So, according to him, Susti, the young men of today are too lazy. When he was young, men were men, he says. He can remember having secured 30 kangaroos and one killed himself. Point Macleay was a paradise in the old days, he said. Mobs of kangaroos came right into the mission to drink. The men would spear and club them by the dozen. So that was his first, account to the newspapers, and he was 103 at that time. So that's quite amazing to someone to, memory to still be there in terms of his experiences of kangaroo. And his second account, and I'll read that out as well. And this comes from Norman Tyndale's Lower Murray journals. So it's a description of Susti whaling at Encounter Bay with non-Indigenous whalers. And Susti says that at Encounter Bay, that the Encounter Bay tribe of natives, many of whom were employed on the boats, were much better whalers than the whites. This, he said, was because they had been throwing spears all their lives and took to harpooning naturally. When Susti was quite young, he was in a whaling crew, which he dragged about 12 miles out to sea by a huge whale. We took 2 days and 2 nights to row back, he said, and it was hard going too, especially when the wind was against us. Not many of the young men today could have done it. So, they're really kind of detailed descriptions around, the hunting practices, about the kind of skills that Ngarrindjeri people had. The third story that Susti tells about a whale enchanter referred to by the whalers as Charlie Warren, whose totem was the whale. So the quote, so much did the white whalers believe in this power that they used to give old Charlie rations every day. I was there one day when they forgot to do this, said Susti. So Charlie Warner ran out to the rock near the sea and began his chanting. A huge whale, which was lying in the bay, vanished in a few seconds. The whaling crew dashed out, but could not even find the wake, which is usually left by the whales. They returned and went to old Charlie and gave him rations. He said, now you catch him. You go back to that same place this afternoon. You catch him, all right? The same afternoon, they found the whale in the same place. I often saw him bring whales into the bay as well. So yeah, there's the 3 kind of stories in them that I pulled out of Tyndale's journals to put into my thesis, because I realised that it still has relevance today in terms of people's connection to the area, about the history. To me, it was quite amazing coming across this article, and it's just it kind of got me thinking about my family connection, to Encounter Bay, to the area, to Point Macleay. It made me think about not just country has been on land, about sea country, and about how Ngarrindjeri people have been contributing to the development of the colony of South Australia and this state in an important industry. I think all of that this is a demonstration of how people work together in that industry, in the 30s, and I find that quite remarkable. And people were valued. Ngarrindjeri people were valued as part of that whaling industry, and I'm sure that went two way.